A good idea can come from anywhere. Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of robertoblake.com helping you create something awesome today. So today we're going to talk more about personal branding and we're going to talk about content strategy. One of the questions I think I get asked the most in Twitter is how do you come up with ideas for your content? Now, this isn't just going to be limited to YouTube. This is something that you can use whether you're doing YouTube videos, articles, or even a podcast. I think you actually have to have a reason for this content and a goal behind it when you get started. What's this podcast episode going to do for you? What's it going to do for your audience? What's this YouTube video going to do to build you up? Or what is it going to do to serve your audience? What's the value of this article and why should someone spend 5 minutes of their life reading it? So you have to know up front, what purpose are you serving on behalf of the audience? And you also have to understand what the goal or success metrics are for you. So if we're talking about what you get out of this, let's get very specific about what you could get in terms of value from any type of content that you're doing, whether it's video, audio, or written. Let's start with something that most people talk about that I think more of you should be prioritizing: revenue, profits, money, cash flow. Does this thing that you're about to invest this time, this energy, and this effort in have any chance of making you a single dollar? Let's think about that. A lot of people are made very uncomfortable by this, but the thing is, it actually is really important because if you prioritize the content that has the most upside and value for you, one, you probably are more motivated to be consistent, and then two, it probably makes everything else you do sustainable. A lot of people will tell me that they stopped doing their podcast or they stopped doing their YouTube channel specifically because they couldn't make any money off of it and it wasn't something that they could justify the time to, whether it was in terms of their bills and living situation or their significant other or their family. And that's something that's actually very important, and a lot of people shy away from it because when you say something like that, people think, well, you're only doing something or you're only in it for the money. And the reality is that someone has to pay bills, which means that if they're spending their time on something, they probably should figure out how to monetize it. Now, why this affects your content and your ideas is that if you're doing this content with the idea that maybe this attracts a sponsor, or maybe this is a piece of content that sells your product, or maybe this is the type of content that gets you a job, that will influence the ideas, the way that you market it, the way that you approach the production. It might determine something like whether you swear in your content or not. It might determine whether you do advertiser-friendly content if it's YouTube. It might determine whether you do something that will cause you to potentially be rejected from an employer or a job. Maybe you decide to make sure that you avoid politics. This will influence your content if you're thinking about what's on the other end of this in terms of money. Now, if you're in a situation where you don't care about any of those things, it might give you more freedom with your content, but that freedom will now come with, well, because I don't have any rules, because I don't have any boundaries, because I'm not worried about the monetary result, what am I worried about? And also, well, now what? Because you see, those constraints that we were talking about are interesting because they at least let you color within the lines. And sometimes that's a good thing. Now, if you're not worried about revenue, maybe you're worried about something like, well, is nobody going to pay attention to this thing I'm doing? Do you want to write articles that no one will read? Do you want to make videos that no one will watch? Do you want to generate a podcast that no one will listen to once you've produced it? The answer to that is no. The crux of the problem becomes, how do you do content that's not just pandering to trying to get that audience and trying to get that interest, that viewership, that listenership, that readership? Because the reality is that if you're not doing content that is satisfying to you, even if you're not shilling for money, then you're shilling for attention. And, that's not really the most gratifying thing in the world. The attention and the value of that for you will fade, and you will constantly find yourself pursuing bigger and bigger numbers, and it will feel very empty if you find yourself in doing that. You're not doing anything that you want and that you care about. There are a lot of YouTubers, for example, who burn out specifically because they feel that they've painted themselves into a corner. They can never do another type of content. It won't be accepted. No one will support them doing that, especially if they cater to a young audience and then they get older themselves, they grow up, but they've managed to maintain the youth market. They don't feel that they're ever allowed to have adult conversations or address topics that matter to them as an older person in their content because that's not what their user base wants from them. And it can be really discouraging. I think this is actually something that Sky Does Minecraft has talked about in his content. And he actually had to make some really very difficult decisions regarding what the future of his content and his brand would be because of that. And again, this happens to a lot of people, and it's not just YouTubers. This actually happens with subject matter experts as well. If you establish yourself as an expert in one industry or one field, are you ever going to be able or allowed to expand outside of that? Or do you end up being told that you can't be a Jack or Jill of all trades, that you have to niche down, you have to pick something, or you're going to be rejected by the professional community? This is something people really do worry about. So my answer is that from the very beginning, you should probably balance doing content that you think is scalable, meaning something that has a lot of growth potential, with it also having to personally satisfy you and be something that you care about and that you're passionate about. So in my case, the things that I care about are creativity and creatives and art, and that's something that I have experience in, that's something that I have expertise in, it's something I built a career on. So that means it's something I'm probably not gonna get tired of talking about. So from the very beginning, I was intentional about making sure that I did that. Now, I started with design and Photoshop and the Adobe software and doing tutorials, but to make sure that I didn't get painted into a corner, I managed to filter my expertise because I've worked in marketing and advertising, and it gave me permission to talk about business and social media and even what I did with growing the YouTube channel. So if you stick to topics that you know, and that you enjoy talking about, that also have an audience that is either large or is growing, then you can satisfy meeting your objectives when it comes to reaching an audience and creating content that people will actually engage with, so that you're not sitting there putting in all this work only to have nobody listen, nobody watch, nobody read. But Roberto, how do I come up with the ideas in the first place? I don't know what to make. I don't know what videos to do. I don't know what I should talk about on my podcast. I don't know what I want to write about. Well, there's a couple of things you can do. You can either create stuff that's completely original, and to do that, you have to think about what do you like and what you're good at and what do you know. If I wasn't going to do educational content on YouTube around my expertise and what I've done in my career, then I would probably be a booktuber and I would talk about all of the books here on my bookshelf and I would be fine. Or I could go specific and I could talk about something that I know has a huge audience that I'm passionate about, something like Star Wars or Game of Thrones, or I could even go into geek culture in general and talk about all of those things. I would be able to go ahead and take everything that I enjoy and I'd be able to extrapolate content out of that. Meaning that I would be able to review episodes of Game of Thrones, I'd be able to talk about the characters, I'd be able to talk about the world, I'd be able to talk about the books, I would have no shortage of content. Star Wars gives me a whole universe to play with. So as long as you pick something that you know and that you're passionate about, whether it's something that you're a fan of or something that you have expertise in, there should be no reason that you're not able to come up with content. If you are a professional and you're a subject matter expert, then probably start with the 10 biggest pain points that everybody who is a customer or a client asks you all the time. If they're asking these specific things and it's a problem and you find yourself repeating yourself over and over and over again, the most practical content that you can do is make a video so you can just stop repeating yourself. If you are a professional, let's say you're an artist, you know what? You could do speed art videos, you could show the process, you could also talk about all of your equipment and all of your art tools. If you're a photographer, it's pretty easy. Show behind the scenes of what it takes to do a photo shoot the way that you like to do it. Talk about your equipment, do those things. Talk about what's happening in the industry and how hard it is for photographers coming up, or how it's not hard and they need to just hustle harder and work harder. Whatever it is you want to do, give your unique perspective on it. That's what creating content really looks like. It's about you just giving your perspective or your opinion or what have you. Now there's another option. You could just curate content. If you're doing a podcast, this is fantastic for you because you can interview people that are subject matter experts even if you're not one, and you can go ahead and you can use them as a way to introduce new information and new facts to your audience. The interview style platform is fantastic and it does very well. People who have been very successful at it are people like John Lee Dumas and Pat Flynn. I really think that if you want to apply the strategy, you could easily do it in written format. I've done that before. That's where I started with vlogging, is I used to interview and do articles on different artists that I thought were talented, that were coming up and deserved more exposure. So that's an opportunity. And you can do it with YouTube in much the same way. In fact, I'm actually working on doing more interviews for a series I'm going to call Super Creatives. That's something that I'm really interested in, so that I can just share more information, expertise from working creative people with you guys. I actually did a great interview with Eric Peter Carlson that you can check out. It's a 2-hour interview. It's pretty long, but I think it's extraordinarily valuable for you if you are a video creator, a filmmaker, a vlogger, a YouTuber, because it's somebody who's been successful and is using new media as a filmmaker in a way that just hasn't been done before. You see, that's how you deliver unique values. You find unique, interesting people that you can interview, and you bring their story to the table. You can be the most boring person known to man, and if you are great at wrangling fantastic interviews, no one will ever know that. The other thing you can do is you can documentate content. And this idea of you can either create, you can curate, or you can document is something that Gary Vaynerchuk has talked about at length. And what I would say about that is, if you want to documentate something, you could literally either be a vlogger and documentate the aspects of your life and then cut out the stuff that you don't want. And that is what YouTube vloggers do. They are documenting their life. They're not having to come up with original content or write a script or do a film. They're just living their life and capturing the best nuggets of it and presenting it in a way that is entertaining and interesting. Pretty straightforward. Not easy, just straightforward. Another way you could documentate, though, is you could literally go to conferences and capture the experience of a conference attendee, and you can put that out. I would literally watch a YouTube channel that was nothing but somebody talking to people at conferences, the speakers, the attendees, and documenting that from behind the camera and filming the panels. I would literally watch that YouTube channel every single week, and I would just be getting all of that value. Somebody should start that YouTube channel if they're going to conferences all the time. I guarantee you, at some level, it will be successful. You might actually get video production gigs out of it for the conferences, so that's another hack. If you're struggling with ideas, you could literally brainstorm, or you could go to your community. You could go to Twitter and Facebook, and you could ask questions, get feedback, ask people what they're struggling with in ... and you could use that to crowdsource ideas for your content. I use the YouTube comment section here all the time. I use my Q&As in Periscope and in Facebook Live all the time to get new content ideas from you guys. So if I wasn't already great at coming up with my own ideas, I literally could just use the community and crowdsource all the ideas I need in terms of what can I do to help you. To summarize everything I said, there are a couple of ways you can approach content. You can create original content based on your own point of view and your own experiences. You can curate content by going and finding people and aggregating content and their information, usually in the form of an interview or something like that. Or you can documentate things that are already just happening in the world and capture them and deliver on them. If you're struggling for concepts or ideas or things and you want to create, you could always crowdsource it using your community or using a community or just the internet in general. Your content ideas should be aligned to goals that you have in terms of the value you want to deliver for your audience, but also what is the return on investment, the ROI for you? What do you get out of it? Is it money? Is it attention? Is it leverage for your brand or for your career? What is going to be the reason that lets you continue to invest in doing this content over and over again? What's going to make it sustainable? What's going to make it practical for you? Balance all of your content against what you know, what you like, and what is sustainable for you. Not everyone can do content every day. Not everyone wants to talk about the same thing over and over and over again. So make sure that you're doing something that feels good and is satisfying to you, that also has an audience, that you also know that you can speak to with confidence. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to come up with content ideas, whether it's for YouTube videos, articles that you want to write, or a podcast. I think this is actionable and practical advice for the far majority of you. And if you're still struggling with what content to make or how often to make it, go ahead and give me those questions in the comment section if you still have questions about personal branding in general. I have a whole playlist of content that I've been doing around the topic of personal branding. I've also got the free ebook for you guys if you're on the Create Awesome Community newsletter. If not, you can sign up with the link in the description below. I really just want to keep this conversation going and help you guys develop an awesome personal brand. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome stuff all across the channel. As always, you guys, thanks so very much for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today. You now know exactly how to do that, right?